Okay, hi everyone. Now in this video, I'm going to explain about carbonyl, more to the introductions of carbonyl. So as you can see for the introduction, we are going to learn about the general formula for aldehyde and ketones, the nomenclature for aldehydes and ketones, and also the structure for aldehydes and ketones. All right, which is the parent chain should be less than 10 carbon. So let's proceed. Now, I bet that all of you have heard about aldehyde and ketone. So carbonyl group, okay, the functional group of carbonyl, it will produce two types of compound, which is aldehydes and ketone. So basically, if we want to say carbonyl, it must have this structure, which is C double bond O. The general formula for carbonyl is CnH2nO, and aldehyde and ketone, they are isomeric to each other, which means aldehyde and ketone, they will have the same molecular formula, but they don't have the same structural formula. So this is what we call functional group isomerism. Okay, in general, carbonyl are polar because as you can see for C double bond O, C and O are different atoms, so they have different polarity, which is this one is more positive and this side is more negative. So this produces the polarity for the carbonyl compound. And in general as well, aldehyde is more reactive than ketone towards nucleophilic addition reaction. So how do we identify the compound of aldehydes and ketones? Alright, for aldehyde, this is the structure where this is the C double bond O, and the C double bond O, the carbon, must attach with one hydrogen. Okay, so let's put this. And then the rest is the parent chain. So this is the parent chain. So R could be anything. It could be benzene, it could be a long carbon chain, short carbon chain, okay? Or it could be H as well. And then for ketones, okay, for ketones, as you can see here, we have the carbonyl group C double bond O, but this carbon will attach to alkyl group. So this is alkyl group and this is alkyl group. So aldehyde is more reactive and easy to oxidize. Ketone less reactive and very difficult to oxidize. So I have touched about this when we learn about oxidation in alcohol. Okay. So how do we name aldehydes? Okay, for aldehyde, naming for the nomenclature, it is almost the same like what you learn in alkane or how to name everything, except if it's aldehyde, it will end up with al. Okay, it will end up with al. Like methane become methanol, ethane become ethanol, propanol, butanol, pentanol, hexanol, heptanol, what else? Octanol, nonanol, decanol. Alright, so we just learn up to 10. That's it. Now, for example, if you look at here, okay, like this, we have C double bond O, H. So this one means this is aldehyde. But because it only have one carbon, so the name for this is methanol. Okay, methanol. Like this. Identify the C double bond first, C double bond O, the carbonyl group. Attach with H, so you know this is aldehyde. And then look at the number of carbon. 1, 2. Therefore, this one will be ethanol. See double bond O, the carbonyl group, and it has H. So this is aldehyde. 1, 2, 3. This is propanol. Carbonyl group attached with H. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Therefore, this is butanol. Easy, right? Now, can you guess what the name of this? Yes, you are correct. Carbonyl with H, aldehyde. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one should be pentanol. Easy, right? So if we look properly at all the structure, we can actually can see the pattern where all the carbonyl groups for aldehyde located at the end of the structure. Okay, at the end, or we say hujung. Okay, at the end of the structure. So, what is this? Alright, this is the common name for the IUPAC name. So like for methanol, it is also known as formaldehyde. Ethanol, also known as acetaldehyde. Propanol, propionaldehyde. Butyraldehyde. Valeraldehyde. Okay, but do you need to memorize those names? The answer is no. Do not worry. Because in exam, even if they give you the general name, for example, this is acetaldehyde, also known as ethanol. They will give you the IUPAC name because in whatever we do when it comes to nomenclature, we will always referring to the IUPAC name. Okay, so this is it. Now, let's see some example. So I would like to take the example of this. Okay. In this structure, as you can see, if you want to give a name, you identify the functional group first. So if you see, we have this functional group and also this one. Since we have two functional groups, you have to decide which one you have to prioritize as parent chain. Now, according to the priority, we have to take carbonyl as parent chain. So for this case, automatically benzene will become substituent. Okay, so when benzene becomes substituent, we name it as phenyl. Now, how do we give the name for this structure? This will be the first carbon, and this will be the second carbon. Number 1, number 2. So this is ethanol. Okay, this is ethanol. And we have phenyl, benzene as phenyl at carbon number 2. So the name would be 2-phenyl ethanol. Now try to do the rest of the questions and I will give the answer later on. But for now, let's proceed to ketone. So the naming of ketone is almost the same, except if it's ketone, we are not going to name it as al like methanol, but we are going to end it with on, not one, on. So like we have ketone, what else? Propanol, and we do have butanol. But since we need C double bond O, C, C. Okay, so for ketone, the lowest number carbon should be 3 carbon. You cannot have one methanol. You cannot have methanol because it is impossible to make ketone with one carbon only. You need at least 3 carbons, which is the carbonyl in the middle, another 1 carbon at the left side, and another 1 carbon at the right side. So the lowest should be 3. So let's take a look like this. So this is carbonyl group. You have 1 carbon here and 1 carbon here. So how do we give the numbering? 1, 2, 3. We have 3 carbon, and therefore this one is propanon. Okay. Next one. 1, 2, 3. So this is ketone. But we have another carbon, 4. So we are going to number it. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is butanon. Okay. Next one. Where is the carbonyl group? 1, 2, 3. So we know this is ketone because it is in the middle of 2 carbon. But continue if it's a long chain, 4 and 5. So how do we number this? We can number this from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why we don't number it with this green? The same reason is we try to locate the functional group as lowest number carbon as possible. So the green one is not possible. Okay, the green one is not possible. So this is 2-pentanon. Now you might wonder why for pentanon we give the numbering, but for butanon we don't give the numbering. Because for butanon, even if it's at here, if it's at this carbon, it will be number 2. So it will just be the same butanon. But for pentanon, the location of the carbonyl could be at number 2 or could be at number 3. So for pentanon, the possible structure would be 2-pentanon or 3-pentanon. And that's why we need to name it. Okay, and then the next one is we have this. Oops, sorry. 1, 2, and 3. Don't forget, this is actually carbon. But how do we name it? Okay, we are going to number this as carbon number 1, 2. So the naming, this one is very interesting because I mentioned earlier we don't have ethanol, but this one will be 1-phenyl ethanol. Okay, this one will be 1-phenyl ethanol. Or also known as acetophenone. Alright, and the last one, this one might be more interesting. We have carbon 2 and 3. So this is 1. So how do we name it? Okay, we are going to name it as one diphenyl, because we only have 1 carbon, so we will name it methanol. So I was wrong. Methanol exists. But methanol exists because of this kind of structure. Okay? So 1,1-diphenyl methanol. Okay? So it also have common name. We always, I think you guys also familiar with acetone, acetophenone. So these are the common name. Alright? But again, they will give you the IUPAC name. So let's see which one we all want to try. So I guess let's try this one, number 4. Oh no, think let's try this one. Okay, so same thing. We are going to have 2 functional group. So the priority will goes to carbonyl. So this one will be the parent chain. And this one will be the substituent. Right. So 1, 2, 3. This is ketone. Numbering start from 1, 2, 3. Why not green one? Because our substituent will be located at the lowest number of carbon. So for this, the name will be 1,phenyl propanol. Okay, so again, try the rest of the questions and I will give you the answer later. Okay, so that's it for nomenclature. Thank you, everyone.